begin with one of the most heinous displays we've ever seen from a president. I'm talking, of course, about Joe Biden's angry anti-American vaccine mandate push earlier today. But first, I think it's important to show you how this conversation has evolved in just the past year. Now, it was just last August when Tony Fauci assured us this type of move would never happen in the good old US of A.
I don't think you'll ever see a mandating of vaccine, particularly for the general public. You cannot force someone to take a vaccine.
Even Joe Biden, who ran on a platform to crush COVID, promised this was too radical to even consider.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory.
And his press secretary spoke in even more blunt terms just, well, it was a long time ago. It was 6 weeks ago.
That's not the role of the federal government. That is the role that institutions, private sector entities, and others may take.
Well, just like everything else Biden promised, it all turned out to be a lie.
I'm announcing that the Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated or show a negative test at least once a week.
Do they have the authority to do this under the Department of Labor? Well, it is true the Labor Department does have authority over workplace safety through OSHA. In this case, the rule can only be temporary, and you can bet it's still going to be subject to lawsuits. They're going to argue, how serious is this emergency when the federal government chose to exempt over 600,000 U.S. Postal Service workers from these rules? Now, here's something else to consider. Now, Biden adopted an emergency temporary standard for healthcare workers back in June. Remember that. There have been pressures since he took office to adopt a rule for all industries, but he didn't do it. But now he is doing it. Why? Oh, is he admitting that he failed fighting COVID? And finally, 75% of the adult population has gotten at least one dose of the vaccine. Nearly 65% have gotten both doses. The numbers grow every day, and they don't take into account those who have natural immunity. So why do we even need a vaccine mandate when this is the threshold that they told us all along was needed? Well, now we know why. To feed the left's fragile egos and their ever-increasing thirst for power. And to keep the gravy train rolling, they need to keep vaccinated Americans ever fearful of the unvaccinated masses. Joining me now are two governors who have been opposed to the government vaccine mandates as soon as they saw them coming. Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts and Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves. Governor Reeves, let's start with you. Your reaction to this announcement from the president today and the overall tone of it.
Well, I was very disappointed but not surprised. The president and all of his team for months and months have been telling the American people that they would never issue a vaccine mandate. And once again, this president has gone back on his word and had done the exact opposite. The thing that struck me as I saw him saying that today was, you know, we live in America, and you would expect words like that from the president, maybe of communist China or of North Korea, but you don't expect words like that coming out of the mouth of the President of the United States.
Well, and President Biden knows who to blame, Governor Ricketts, for the current COVID outbreak. He blames governors like you.
They're elected officials actively working to undermine the fight against COVID-19. These pandemic politics, as I refer to, are making people sick, causing unvaccinated people to die. If these governors won't help us beat the pandemic, I'll use my power as president to get them out of the way.
There's no 10th Amendment issue there. Governor Ricketts, your response.
Yeah, that is just absolutely outrageous. You know, Tate was exactly right. The president's forgotten we live in America. He thinks we live in the Soviet Union. And the hypocrisy of this is just unbelievable. We have weekly phone calls with the governors, the White House staff. The president has never once been on any of those. And yet he's got the gall to tell us that we're not fighting the pandemic. I will tell you, here in Nebraska, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, we have the third lowest fatality rate among people who have gotten coronavirus. And yet the president is going to use the coercive powers of the federal government to tell us how to do this. It's just unbelievable. And I can tell you, Nebraska will push back, fight back with any tool we can find against this huge and stunning overreach of federal power.
Well, Governor Reeves, he keeps saying that this is the pandemic of the unvaccinated, and yet at the same time, he admits that his authority to mandate vaccines is limited.
My administration has already required teachers at the schools run by the Defense Department, because I have the authority as president of the federal system, the Defense Department and the Interior Department, to get vaccinated. That's authority I possess.
Governor Reeves, will your state consider legal action here?
Without question, we will consider legal action. In fact, our lawyers are already communicating amongst one another, as well as other like-minded elected officials around this country. Here's the disappointing thing, Laura. The president tried to pick a political fight with Republican governors when the reality is he is picking a real fight with hard-working Americans. 80 million Americans. This president is saying to them, look, you can either get vaccinated, or I, as one individual, is going to threaten your ability to feed your family. And that's just wrong. That is just wrong.
But he says he wants to protect the workers, Governor Reeves. It's about protecting them, and this is for their safety. They do all sorts of things in the workplace to ensure safety. So COVID's a hazard in the workplace, so why isn't this under their purview?
This is a power grab by the federal government. We've seen this time and time again by the Biden administration. We've seen their unwillingness to attack the border crisis that we have. We saw their incompetence when it came to the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And now we're seeing their strong desire to try to make decisions on behalf of individual Americans. We believe in freedom and individual liberty. And the unfortunate thing is that this is going to actually not help more people get vaccinated. In our state, we've seen 6 or 7 consecutive weeks of week-over-week rises in overall vaccination rates. That's because people are looking at the data. They are making an individual decision, and they're making good ones. And so I just don't understand why the president would do this. It makes no sense.
And Governor Ricketts, I have to also remind everyone that under this new regime of mandates, the U.S. postal workers are exempt from Biden's mandate. Okay, we got 644,000 U.S. postal workers who will not be part of the federal mandate. So again, what does that tell us about the power of unions, particularly that union, and how seriously they really take the workplace threat?
Yeah, again, this is just more hypocrisy of President Biden to say that, well, we're trying to protect workers, but not postal workers, because apparently, for whatever reason, they don't have to have the vaccine. And I got to tell you, just as this announcement came out, the phones in my office were ringing off the hook with people who are just in shock about this. And business owners are calling me, telling me about how this is going to make it so hard for them to be able to run their businesses, the amount of effort to be able to get this done, the worry that they're not going to be able to keep people. The president really has done something that is just unbelievable that it could happen in our country. You know, Americans take responsibility for their own personal health care. This is not the job of the government to mandate how they're supposed to take a vaccine like this. It's just shocking.
Governors, it's great to see both of you tonight. Thank you.